Hey, boys and girls, welcome back to From the Depths. This is part three of my series of videos, kind of showcasing some of the crafts I made in 2022 for my second anniversary of playing From the Depths. This video is going to be slightly different than the two other ones, showcasing very either high tech or super meta designs. The designs we look at today are going to be more aesthetic builds. They're more for uh, the historical campaigns, such as what do we call it? The Finest Hour by Jadog, where I limit myself to only using historically available weapons and modes of transportation. So there'll be no warp drives, no lasers or railguns or guided missiles, and just keeping things simple with the uh, ye old gunpowder cannons. Um, yeah, and I built these designs to, one, to just have fun and try something different, and two, um, in the series, to not stress myself out by over designing a lot of complicated systems. But as you can see, I end up just making things just super detailed. So it's not completely stress free, but it's just something that's slightly different. The first four we're going to look at are some of the civilian support craft that are not intended to see combat. So, yes, go ahead. So, for historic campaigns, I know a lot of people use actual jets to keep their craft aloft, but I kind of want to challenge myself and use helium and these spinning propellers instead of jet engines, just as self-imposed rule. This is the tile capture vehicle that's designed to capture territory. It's meant to be as cheap as possible. It is armed, just so I can say I'm not using a cheat unit to capture tiles. It does have engines and it does have a radar, so we can see the map as well. And yeah, it's very cheap to run. I don't think it has RTG. Oh, it does have RTG, so while it sit there, you can just recharge the batteries and then move for a bit. So that's all that does. Actually, let's have a quick look at the aesthetics. Uh, it does have a cannon and a bed and a chair, but not a very comfortable space. This one is a cargo delivery craft I'm going to be using for my historic campaigns. Um, it moves completely by sail power. The sails are kind of not real physical simulation in From the Depths. They kind of work just by if you put sail on the ship, it will move. But sail is quite fun. It doesn't fly using helium or any kind of propulsion. It literally just flies by using sails. And how it's done is this whole floor is just wings, basically. Um, and then a lot of these are not real wooden blocks, but cargo containers that's kind of hidden inside. We can have a little tour of the interior of this boat. It's very cute. I really like it. There's not real any practical purpose to any of this, but I just like how cute it is. No chair. I believe I wanted to call this the adventure class cargo craft, but um, I don't think I got around to putting the craft name anywhere. So here's kind of a cargo loading thing. Uh, I didn't really put rigging on here. I think we have taken a lot of time, and then we have sails, the cargo containers. We have a little galley here next to the captain's place, and then we have windows looking outside. It's quite pretty. A little kitchen, a little bathroom with a shower. Um, just a little utility stuff. Careful not to fall down. And the captain's little cabin and office space. We have the AI here. Cargo storage area with where the crew sleeps, coming all the way to the front. And this craft costs 10,000 materials, 11,000, and moves at 55 meter per second without using any power. So it is pretty good. It won't be replacing any of my high-tech campaign stuff, even though those are less efficient. But I do like how fast it can move. Um, yeah, so it'll be a parallel craft rather than a replacement. This is one of my favorite crafts. This is a cargo base. How much does it cost? 16,000. So it's not a whole lot, and it can move up to 64 meter per second. It doesn't really need to since it just sits there, but I would like for this base to move to new resource zones as quickly as possible upon capture and start generating resources. So it does have engines, um, at 3,000 power, and it just moves. Here we can see sort of the inside tour. Here's the captain's quarters. We have a bed, some books, some little toys on top of the captain's desk. Then we have a seating area, a bathroom on one side, and then we have a bath on the other side. Coming out here, here's the main deck. I don't really know all the sailing terms. We have a little dining area, some cargo storage space, some engine compartments. You can come up to the front of the ship, and some cargo loading hatches, and a lot of just cute little details. Coming back here, I believe there's an access down below the cruise bunks, and then the main cargo area. So yeah, there's a lot of kind of pathways to navigate the vessel from all different directions. And then we can also go up into the helium portion of the craft. Ooh, ooh, no, we're inhaling helium. Um, wow, excuse me. Okay, I'm just gonna do this another way. So in theory, we can navigate all the way to the top of the craft. So that was pretty fun to build, and then lots of cute little details all the way here. Carries almost 500,000 material. I could have fit more cargo storage in here, but I do want to kind of look nice and walkable all the way around. Probably could have more, put some more stuff here, to be honest, or on top of the deck. Here we have the um, high-powered military scout. Has a pretty big uh, helium compartment and lots of engines. It can go up to. It only costs 10,000 once again, and it can go up to 90, almost 90 meter per second. So it can really travel on the strategic map. And let's see, it's got a massive radar, so it can definitely reveal a lot of space on the strategic map. And once again, this craft is fully walkable as well. Um, you can see I have a full utility cabin with beds and toilet here. Um, Kitchen, I guess they'll just eat prepared rations and then um, yeah, I don't know what they'll do. Um, I guess dock with a mothership, but yeah, it's pretty cute. Um, yeah, it travels with this craft is meant to travel with a combat fleet or uh, move around one region wherever is needed and kind of just spy on the enemy and retreat very quickly. if you know if there's an unfavorable engagement. All right, next up we have for kind of combat craft. This is the largest I built at almost 100K material. It's kind of a light frigate. It's called an air monitor. And we'll just go into them a bit more. The first one here is a Gale class anti-air corvette. This is the only front-side aircraft that I wanted to make for the historic campaigns. Again, they're lifted entirely by propellers instead of jets. Um, yeah, and there's no kind of um, any advanced technology like guided missiles uh, or railguns, just gunpowder stuff. And what this does is it's meant to take out small airplanes in the historic campaigns where if they're damaged and goes out of control, they're very hard to kill. So this thing is supposed to zoom up to them and just shoot them until they die. And at close range with very high velocity AP frag rounds. Um, so designed specifically to counter aircraft, light aircraft. Or bombers. It's very effective against everything that's not a ship. There's a few different cockpits. There's that one. There's a gun cockpit here. There's a main gun. Um, and then there there's a pilot, the captain's space over here. There's a crew space. Again, I want to make sure I get all these kind of details in these craft because they're meant to be quote unquote historic, so they'll be manned and they won't be fully automated monsters like my high-tech campaign craft. And yes, there's a walkway that kind of goes all the way up to the top. So everything is meant to be accessible and kind of physically make sense. Actually, let's have a quick look at the gun. Uh, yeah, 1300 meter per second, 22 firepower, and it uses timed HE and timed frag. All right, next one here. This is a contender class bomber, which is inspired by the Torominkian Corvette from the movie by Studio Ghibli, the Valley of the Wind. Uh, yeah, so this bomber has this access hatch. Um, actually, you guys might know Valley of the Wind is a movie, but there's also a manga series which goes in a lot more detail about the world building and these mechanical creations by Hayao Miyazaki. It's quite old manga, but it's really good, and they do show quite a bit more detail about the mechanics of how the same functions. I think in the manga or movie, they show these as actual jet engines, but again, because I banned using jet engines to myself, I replaced them all with propellers. And we can kind of have a look on the inside. There's an access here. The pilot area, there's stacked seats that you can kind of look out of. These are not the most beautifully made cockpit, but I'm kind of happy with it. Didn't want to spend, like stupid amount of effort, despite what you see already. And in part of the manga or the movie, there's two princesses. Like they're kind of from rival countries, but they sit down here and have tea and discuss their opposing philosophy. So, well, they set at some space on the gunship. I kind of want to make the tea spot, so here it is. You can look outside the window. And because these are designed to accommodate officers, they will have a private cabin here. Uh, yeah, here's the galley or the kitchen, and here's the bath area. Uh, in the manga, it's designed to be a troop transport. So this normally would be just bunk beds and armory, which we do see a little bit here. And then there's a cargo area here, where in the manga they would deploy a glider and kind of jump out, but I didn't have space. Because I believe this is actually a magazine that's been decoed over. And here we have these low velocity bombs, unfortunately, which only makes this craft good for targeting structures or ships that have their engines disabled, which I guess could be quite common in historic campaigns. But yeah, I like to build craft that are good at doing everything. So not really my style, but I wanted to build this ship and I managed to find the role for it. Yeah, just taking a look around again, and then we'll move on to the next one. Okay, here's the torpedo bomber. It's kind of inspired by the Gossip bomber from World War II. Um, mm, uses these large torpedoes as deploy from a turret, and looks like it's having some flight issues.
Moving out, moving out, moving out, moving out, moving out.
Okay, now it's moving at full speed. It's able to get out of the water, which is kind of the advantage of these propellers that they also work underwater, which is good. Um, but yeah, that's kind of an original design inspired by um, this historical Gaza bombers. I tried for a long time to get these torpedoes to work without sonar guidance, because sonar torpedoes, there's no way to defend against them in the historic campaign, so they are kind of overpowered, um, especially large torpedoes. When they're in the water, as long as they're guided, they're guaranteed to, almost guaranteed to destroy something and wreck a lot, and they're just straight up better than, um, yeah, the other weapons that are available. But these crafts are fairly fragile, and I don't want to, in the interest of keeping things fair and balanced, I don't want to create any more heavily armored craft that flies and drops large torpedoes. So this will be it. Yeah, not much more to say. Yeah, kind of what you see is what you got. There's a little bit of crew space in the very back, but otherwise, space is very limited on this craft. Um, 51,000 material, 71 meter per second, 60 firepower in torpedoes. It's basically a gas cannon and very scary if you don't shoot it down. The final one here, this is the air monitor, is also from Studio Ghibli, or rather Hayao Miyazaki's Valley of the Wind. Um, it's called the Vigilance, which is kind of a synonym for monitor. Um, so in the manga of Valley of the Wind, the country that deploys these metal gunships are at war with another country that uses these wooden airships, um, which isn't really shown in the Valley of the Wind movie, but they're really cool. They're kind of a huge inspiration for me playing FTD and just being in love with airships. It's just so cool. But yeah, making things of wood is not very meta. So in here, after the wood, there's a bit of a bleak. I don't want to cheat and just make the whole thing out of metal under the wood. So it does have to be a real wood construction, even though here you can see some of the main structural components are indeed made out of metal. And here we can see at 98,000 cost, it has 60 firepower in these guns. So I guess the word monitor is kind of similar to the old US River Monitor, where it's a ship with one big gun on the bottom. Or the River Monitors have one big turret on the top, but the Air Monitors have a one big gun on the bottom. Low velocity, 180 frag, huge frag, 500 millimeters with diffuse. So yeah, it's a pretty good weapon system for a historic campaign where these shells just will not get shot down by lasers. They can always get through, so it's pretty reliable, which is um, kind of what I prefer to build my stuff around. And then these things also fire medium velocity frag, so they're kind of decent against aircraft. Um, I mean, they're more for just for flavor, but they're not completely useless as well. Doing the tour of the inside, this is, as you can see, kind of the top of the bridge on the map space. And then here we have the armory, the entryway uh, of the craft from the front, with just like ammo, bows and arrows, all the good stuff that you see in the manga. Here's some bathrooms for the crew, some living space, kitchen, a bit more engineering space, a ladder up to the tower. And if we go down, there's a wardroom, and then we have more crew space here in the front. We have a little bit of repair stuff going on for the weapons. If you jump all the way down there, you can access the radar. So these ships are fully walkable. I spent a lot of time building this ship, and um, yeah, the main deficiency is they do have a pleat and wood on the side, which isn't great. They won't last very long in the campaign, even though I imagine they will be quite good against soft targets, but uh, against battleships, they won't stand up for too long. Especially when even in what do you call it, finest hour, a lot of those quote unquote historic battleships have indeed have rail guns, so that's not great. Okay, let's have a look at these weapons. 500 millimeter, as we saw, was very low velocity, but there, there's not a lot of evasive large targets. Material per firepower is 400. 40 is really efficient. Pretty decent volume, and these are in the ejector fused um, guns with four clip Tetris. Took me a lot of time to perfect this turret design, to be honest. It's two barrels. Yeah, this was and perfectly balanced stats too. Maybe a bit too much recoil absorption, but yeah, this turret was a bit of a pain to design. Uh, just four clip Tetris railguns are so much easier to make. It's a lot more forgiving how you fill up the spaces. Yeah, there you go, the Vigilance class air monitor. So that's it for the historic creations. Thank you everyone for watching. I'll see you next episode.